Hello, and welcome to a writing and drawing update from the last day of my month-long challenge. Here I'm drawing another setting from my novel. It is a type of workroom, and that's pretty much all I'll say about it. So in my last update, I had just finished my third pass through my new outline, the outline that I'm making from my draft. And on that pass, I had been basically asking and answering questions about each plot point and kind of building out from there, either by asking why something happens or, some sort of world building element or character motivation that was missing. And so in this Q&A format, I'd actually generated a ton of material and gotten to the end of the story. So the first thing I needed to do was decide what I was going to do for the next pass. I could have gone back to the beginning and answered any remaining questions, because there were always more questions with each answer. But I decided instead to organize all the material I generated, because it was getting unwieldy, and my biggest fear is to just have this giant document that's super hard to read, because the whole point of all of this is to create something that will help me in the drafting process. So the idea is that as soon as I'm sufficiently clear on the story and have enough of the details, I'm going to go into drafting, kind of building out the next draft by either pasting in, pieces of the existing draft under the scene headings that I'm going to create, or rewriting in some cases, but I think in most cases actually just writing for the first time, because there was a lot of stuff missing in my old draft. And so I'm trying to create an outline that I can write from. Writing from an outline will be interesting. The last time I did this was when I was revising the first act. I can only write from outlines while revising. I usually pants the first draft, but it wouldn't make any sense to pants a second draft, because then you just end up rewriting it. So I think even as a pantser, it's useful to know how to write from an outline, and so I'll be getting some practice with that. So basically, once I decided what to do, I spent the last day of the challenge organizing all of my notes. I went through the notes and highlighted answers that needed to be their own scene. For example, in one of the scenes, if I asked myself why something happened, and the answer was, it's because these two characters are in a fight and they can't agree on anything, then I would highlight that and add a comment that says, new scene, these two characters get in a fight. So there were lots of things that I found that needed setting up, either with a new scene or with just a little breadcrumb that I could fit into another scene. And so I went through and listed all of those. The next thing I will need to do is pull those out into a separate list so that I have a complete list of all the scenes, including the ones I've added now and the ones I already knew about, and decide on their order. Because in some cases the order is clear. The scene that sets something up needs to happen before the scene where you call it back, and that kind of stuff can be obvious, but some of these could go in any order, and so I'm going to kind of move those around and decide on that. And I'm also going to try and see how much useful information I can pack into one scene. And this is very similar to the process I used on Act 1, and it wasn't easy. It took a lot of passes, just kind of like what I've been doing now, where I just add something to each scene, like I'd add a setting to each scene, then I'd go back to the beginning and add some outline elements, and I just kept passing through a whole bunch of times, and then it ended up sounding a bit like an actual scene. So all of that is coming up in January or so. Looking back at the start of this challenge, I came into it with this manuscript that I hadn't read in months and months. I'd been adding to it without reading it, and so I was kind of scared to read it, and I didn't have a plan. I knew there were all these story problems, and I couldn't even really specify what they were, and I didn't know how to solve them. So now, a month later, I've basically spent an average of 10 minutes a day on my novel for the past month, just gradually building momentum and teasing apart the various story problems I was aware of. And it's made a huge difference in terms of clarity and being able to visualize my scenes and having a plan going forward. And so I'm gonna do what I can to keep this momentum going. I deliberately set myself a pretty easy challenge in a sense. I wasn't aiming for these huge word counts or huge numbers of drawings or anything like that. The rules were just either write or draw or plan every single day. And I think I missed 2 days total overall. And my longest streak was 18 days. So I came pretty close to doing exactly what I'd set out to do, and I think it's made a tangible difference to the state of my novel. So as tempting as it is, I'm trying not to retroactively raise my expectations and wish that I'd done a ton more drawings or just written pages and pages more, because sometimes progress is kind of intangible. It's just clarity, and it's hard to quantify. But I think the proof of the progress will be in the next stage, because however easy it is to do the next draft, that will be a sign of success. So we will see. I will be back with one more video, which will be a wrap-up of this series, and maybe one more drawing to go with it. So thanks for following along. I hope you enjoyed watching me draw this mystery workroom. Drawing the objects was a bit of a pain, but now I'm having fun with light effects and stuff. And I think the end result ended up fairly cozy and atmospheric, which is what I wanted. So I'll see you in the wrap-up, and thanks for watching. Bye!